There is Jamal James
There we
himself.
go.
Jamal, how are you, my man?
What's going on, man? Good to see you, man. Sorry about that.
No worries. First of all, Jamal, I know that we are dealing with the coronavirus pandemic that has, taken over the entire world. How are you and your family and your loved ones doing? Is everybody safe?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thankfully we're all blessed and safe and everybody's healthy. Luckily we got a training camp way up north that's away from everything kind of and more secluded. So we've been able to stay extremely healthy and get ready.
Jamal, you were supposed to fight Tomas Delorme back on April 11th at the Armory in Minneapolis that has essentially become your home. Can you tell us about the status of it? I've seen different reports online about it was supposed to be July 25th. Now I'm seeing reports about August 8th. Can you provide clarification as to when you'll be inside the ring?
August 8th is the date now. Like you just said, it was supposed to be in April, but the pandemic hit and a lot of other things were going on. So they had pushed it back to July, and then some other stuff happened. But now August 8th is the official fight date, and as far as I know, it's a go.
And it'll be live on Fox, correct?
Right, that's right, yep. So make sure y'all tune in.
Jamal, for you're fighting, this is for the interim WBA welterweight title, correct? If I am, just to go ahead and make sure I have that, accurate?
Yep, yes, sir.
What does it mean for you to be fighting for a title against someone of the caliber of Tomas Delorme? I know that you have, really been inkling to fight some of the world's best at 147.
It means a lot, man. Finally getting the title shot. It's the interim title, but we're going to take that and run with it. And Delorme isn't no pushover type of fighter, so a win from him definitely gives me the credibility, I believe, or more of the credibility, I should say, because I've already fought tough competitors and stuff like that and won against them. But he's definitely a big name and a tough competitor, so beating him will just give me more credibility to challenge these guys with a little bit bigger names, and they're going to have to, kind of open their ears up to that challenge.
Jamal, how has this pandemic impacted you in regards to your training? Because I assume you can't bring so many sparring partners in from different parts of the country, how you're typically accustomed to.
Right. Luckily, man, I got a good team back here, so we've had just a couple guys up here sparring and stuff earlier in the camp. And then as we got closer, to the fight date, we sent those guys home and made sure that everything was good and prepared as far as, getting tested for the COVID stuff and all that. And everybody's passed and clear. So now we're kind of just focused in and quarantined up while we train. Also,
Jamal, I saw that you were active. Minneapolis is really been in the epicenter for this, cultural movement and social movement that we have had within the United States, and now it is, gone throughout the world. Obviously, with the passing of George Floyd, which I believe is a mile away from where you train. What was that like? I know you went and marched in the streets. You had your face mask on. But how have things been in your hometown of Minneapolis since this has somewhat calmed down? Has it calmed down?
As far as, the riots and the looting, that stopped and has calmed down, but people are still very, very active. You know what I mean? There's still marches going on. There's still a lot of protests. That whole situation was just crazy. You know what I mean? And I believe that it was a lot of other situations with that one kind of being the straw that broke the camel's back type of deal, and people were just fed up and they showed it, the city was just crazy. I lived, I want to say a half a mile, not even shorter than a half a mile from where that incident happened. You know what I mean? That's right in my neighborhood. That's Southside Minneapolis. I've been by that store many times. There was a coffee shop right across the street that I used to go to all the time. And matter of fact, for one of my previous fights, the camera guys came and videotaped me and interviewed me in the coffee shop right across the street from where George Floyd was killed. So it's just been, that whole thing has been crazy. Seeing National Guard coming down the streets and really pushing the curfew at night and all that stuff was really crazy. But luckily, all my family and friends were safe, and our organization, Circle of Discipline, we did a huge food drive because when all the burning and looting started, a lot of the businesses in the whole neighborhood, were shut down. Grocery stores, banks, and everything. So people, especially older people or people without transportation, were unable to get the food and regular necessities they need to live. So we were able to help out in that way.
Well, Jamal, one thing that I will always applaud you on is you just didn't start these philanthropic efforts,
Right.
Over the past few months. For as long as I've known you, and I've known you for well over half a decade, over 5 years, you've always been very active in the community, making sure that, kids have back to school supplies, being very, a symbol of hope within the Minneapolis area. And now it seems to really be coming full circle for you guys.
Yeah, man, when you do good stuff, karma has a way of helping you out. Obviously, we don't do it, just to get that type of recognition and everything, but it helps, you know what I mean? It helps. So when we're trying to do bigger things for people and bigger things out of our organization, we're able to get the recognition and funding from the state and federal grants or whatever that is needed. But yeah, we've been doing it ever since I was a kid, man. The Circle of Discipline, which is the organization that I train out of and volunteer at, they've been doing that, ever since they started. That's what we're all about, is giving back and, giving discipline to some of our youth and giving back to our community.
Now, for those that don't know, the Circle of Discipline is where you train as a prize fighter, but also I believe you guys are very big in bringing in local youth to not only train for fitness, but also, work on their education. And I think you guys have computers, or you guys have access to computers there. And, you guys are very big on stressing education to the youth within the Twin Cities.
That's correct, man. We use boxing as a tool that kind of reels the kids in, those young men and women who kind of have that grit or got a lot of things going on at home. The boxing brings them in, and through boxing we're able to help them and establish a certain level of discipline in their life, let them channel, that energy of whether they're, highly aggressive or whether they're really shy and get bullied and stuff. It helps them with their confidence and lets them channel their energy in the correct way. And then we mentor them and make sure that they're doing good in school, because if they're not doing good in school, then we don't allow them to compete. We make sure that they're being respectful at home with their parents and everything else, or if there is problems going on at home, we try to talk to the parents and, mediate and try to see what's really going on, if that is the case. And we do a lot of other things, just for our community in general, and try to, like I said, we did the food drive when that whole thing started up. We help out with block parties, and we just reach out, however we can.
Now, Jamal, prior to COVID-19, your fight was supposed to be at the Armory in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. How much does that make you so proud of your home city? We've been to the Armory several times, I think 4 or 5 times at least over the past probably 2 to 3 years. And when you were fighting here in Los Angeles, I don't know if you remember this, but prior to a big card in January of 2015, there was, I think, Danny Garcia fought, Robert Guerrero at the Staples Center on a Saturday. You fought on a Tuesday, at the Microsoft Theater here in Los Angeles. And I remember talking to you and said, man, you keep doing what you're doing. We're going to go back home and you're going to have a homecoming fight. Now you've had 4 homecoming fights. The place at the Armory goes crazy. What has that experience been for you to be able to have those thousands come out? Because I think the Armory is becoming one of the most undervalued arenas or small venues in boxing today.
Oh, man, it's been a huge accomplishment for me. The Armory is amazing. Like you said, man, it's one of the best venues to compete at, for the sport of boxing. people, the thing with Minnesota is we got long winters, and people are looking for stuff to do. So when boxing comes around, whether it's in the winter or in the fall or the spring or the summer, people show up. And, for me, they've been showing a lot of love, man. And I'm greatly blessed and appreciative of all the fans and friends and family and followers and all that stuff for really holding me down in my city and, across the nation and the world. But being able to just, like you said, bring that type of eyes back home and being able to compete back home in my backyard has really been amazing, and I've really been blessed to do so.
Well, I remember a time, I think it was April of last year, I believe you had a fight, and there was literally a snowstorm going on, yeah. and we get into the Armory, and before the first fight even walks, the place is packed. And everyone stayed the entire time. There even a walkout bout or two, and people stayed even then. It was just that the snow was not going to deter the fans from coming out.
Nah, man, we ain't afraid of no weather, man. They come out, they show love. I feel like it's been like 2 snowstorms that I fought in, and we still sold the place out. You know what I mean? Fought in rainstorms and everything else, but people show up. And they show love, man, and they get entertained. It's been amazing to not only compete there, but also to bring world-class talent right there to Minnesota, right there to Minneapolis. So, the people in that city and in that state can see world-class fighters from, New York, Cali, Texas, all over the nation, all over the world. You know what I mean? We got guys coming in from, I can't even name the places, Russia and all over, so it's been amazing.
Well, speaking of world-class talent, you are on the cusp. August 8th, you're fighting Tomas Delorme for a title at 147. Another fellow Minnesotan, Caleb Truax, won the IBF super middleweight title a couple years ago. How much did that give you a sense of pride as to say, okay, Truax did it. I'm going to be the next Minnesotan to claim a world title?
Yeah, man, me and Caleb is real cool. You know what I mean? When he does stuff, he invites me and the kids I work with to a lot of the things that he does. And so for me to see him get that accomplishment, I was very happy for him, man. He did his thing, and, he was the underdog and everything else. We've had world-class fighters, though, coming out of Minnesota. The problem is a lot of them just never got the opportunity. Well, we had a guy named Will Grisby who was a world champion lightweight years back. And we've had other guys that have come. Our gym is kind of like a descendant of what Phyllis Wheatley was in Minnesota. And Phyllis Wheatley, where my father trained out of, my grandfather trained out of. They've had world-class guys, man, who've been in the ring with top-notch, top-name dudes like Duran and everybody else. So it feels good to be able to be starting for Minnesota to start to get recognized as having world-class fighters, and especially me and Caleb Truax being the names that kind of abolished that stigma that, Minnesota fighters is just guys you want to build your record on type of deal.
Jamal, what's your analysis and your assessment of Tomas Delorme? He's 30 years of age. He fought Terrence Crawford, came up short against Crawford, had a draw against Jesse Vargas, coming off of a victory over Terrell Williams, last year. But, how do you see, your matchup with Tomas Delorme going down?
I think it's going to be a great fight that I'm going to win. You know what I mean? But he's definitely going to come and bring it, just like any other guy that I come and fight. But we're gonna outwork him. You know what I mean? We're going to outwork him. But I never look over nobody, and I know that Delorme isn't no pushover, but neither am I, So I think it's going to be a real fan-friendly fight. I think people are going to get nobody's going to be in the arena. I was going to say money's worth, but they're going to be entertained for sure.
Well, they'll be entertained because you get to watch it for free live on Fox.
Free Fox, yep. So they definitely going to be entertained with this.
Jamal, next week, I want to give you a special happy early birthday. You're going to be 32 next week, next Monday to be exact. Are you going to be able to celebrate your birthday a little bit? Maybe have a small slice of cake or anything like that? No, you're focused on making weight.
Right.
Have you thought about anything like that, or is it more so just focus on the training?
Just focus on the training, man. We'll celebrate after we secure the victory. You know what I mean? Luckily, I can't say for sure, but I feel like I'll have more birthdays to come that I can celebrate on the exact date, God willing. But, we can still celebrate all that stuff after I secure the victory from the Lord, man. So we're going to stay focused and stay ready.
How do you see the rest of the welterweight division? I mean, it has always been the money division in boxing. You have the likes of Pacquiao, you have Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence. There are so many, Sean Porter as well. I mean, so many guys, and you are in that mix as well. Sergey Lipinets fighting at 147. Mikey Garcia, you don't know if he's going to go from 40 to 47. How do you see the 147-pound division within boxing?
Oh, man, that's the weight class. That's the weight class to be in, man. If you ain't afraid to box and you ain't afraid to fight, you know what I mean? And you can make that weight. There's good money to be made, good fights to be made at that weight class. I think that weight class and welterweight, super welterweight weight classes are like what the heavyweight weight class used to be. You know what I mean? And that's not to take nothing away from heavyweight weight class. I mean, all the weight classes got good fighters that people can tune in and get entertained from. But, back in the day, it was like you had all sorts of heavyweights and people loved watching those type of fights, even if they didn't know the particular fighter, in the heavyweight division, they was going to tune in and watch it. That's how it is with the welterweight division now. Well,
Jamal, you're in the midst of a 6-fight win streak that you have, rattled off since suffering your only blemish to your Dennis Ugas. What has it meant for you to be a part of Premier Boxing Champions? Because I think, since PBC began, I don't think you've had a fight off of television, to be honest with you. We always see you on Fox, on FS1, on Showtime, any of the platforms that Premier Boxing Champions has been televised on.
Again, man, I've been truly blessed to be able to get signed with Al Heyman and be able to get the type of support and the platform for Premier Boxing Champions. You know what I mean? Just like you said, after, I have not, all my fights have been televised, since I've been with Heyman and since I got with PBC. And you guys have been able to give me the platform to really showcase my skills, as well as, give me a voice where I can bring awareness about my organization and other things that I'm doing. And, just try to help out and really push my agenda through my platform. And as long as I'm doing my boxing thing, which I'm going to continue to do until I retire, I've just been blessed with all the opportunities that have been given to me through PBC and through Al Heyman and his team.
I know you're very close with your head trainer, Sankara Frazier. You have mentioned that he's like a father figure to you. Knowing that you guys are so close to a title, how much would that give you gratification to say and look at him and say, we did it. We finally accomplished the goal that we set forth when I was 5 years old?
Oh, man, it'd be huge. It'd be huge. We've been accomplishing goals nonstop so far, I've always talked about being a world champion. I've always talked about fighting on TV and having a big name. And he's always said, well, all right, if you want to do it, then I'm going to push you to do it. And now we've been doing it. So this is just, that cherry on top of that whipped cream, getting this title. That ain't the end, obviously, but that's definitely a huge hurdle to jump. So it would mean a lot, to me to be able to say I did it and be able to, do that, not only for myself, but for my friends and especially my family. You know what I mean? My father, my older brother in my corner. And I just got the support of so many that I'm going to fight my hearts. I don't want to let nobody down. You know what I mean? So I'm going for broke every fight.
Once, assuming that everything goes according to plan on August 8th, Jamal, have you thought about potentially who could be next? Because you would be the interim welterweight champion, by the WBA. You'd be the interim WBA welterweight champion of the world. I believe the super champion is held by Manny Pacquiao. So have you thought about what could potentially be next following the fight on August 8th, assuming things go according to plan?
I have, but, you know, like you said, man, there's so much big names out there that there's really, you know, numerous options. There's numerous options. Obviously, what I would like to do is try to unify the titles, you know, and get the you know, super belt from Pacquiao if possible. I know he has such a big name, everybody's gunning for him. So, but hopefully that is something that I'll be able to do, you know, if not after this fight, at least somewhere down the line before he decides to, you know, bow out and stuff like that. But you know, we got so much great fighters and so many other guys that as long as it's a big name and the business is right, I'm down to get in the ring with anybody, man. I don't run from people. I just wanted to make it, you know, to make sense. That's all.
Jamal, stylistically, how do you feel you compare to the other welterweights? Because as I look at you, you know, you're tall, you use your jab, but you're not afraid to mix it up either. The one thing about you that I would say to categorize you is volume, because you are constantly throwing in a variety of different angles. So, you know, how do you see yourself stylistically compared to the other welterweights?
I think I bring somewhat of that old school flavor, you know what I mean, where you throw in punches and combinations. You know, I use, you know, my God-given gifts, my height, my range, but you still can't be afraid to mix it up if you're in that situation as well. And I got a fighter's heart, you know what I mean? I have to actually calm it down and make sure I stick to the game plan and use my range and stuff, because a lot of times I want, you know, somebody's trying to get in there and throw, and I feel the shots on my arms a little bit. I want to kind of answer back and start banging a little bit, but, you know, sometimes you just need to be smart instead of, you know, trying to bang with somebody, especially if they can bang good.
Well, I almost felt that way when you fought Antonio DeMarco last year in July.
Yeah,
I think it was the
man.
ninth round. That was, I mean, pardon the French, but it was hellacious in many aspects, Jamal. You guys really got after it, and I kind of looked over as I was ring announcing. I looked over at you in the corner, and you were like smiling, because I feel like you get a thrill. You thrive on those battles and those exchanges. I'm sure your trainer, Sankara, doesn't like it that much, but you seem to enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to give the fans, you know, their money's worth. You got to give them a show. You know what I mean? And win, lose, or draw, when you're able to produce like that and give good shows, people are going to want to come back and see you. You know what I mean? They're going to want to see you fight. And that's what it's all about, is being able to give a fight that is very marketable, that people are like, oh, this kid, man, he ain't afraid to bang, he uses range, he could do all this. Yeah, when he fight, we tuning in, or we gonna get the tickets, we gonna go see this kid, you know what I mean? And that's what I want. You know, we're in an age now where you can be one of the greatest fighters in your generation, but you can't really call yourself a greatest fighter pound for pound or none of that no more, because, you know, back in the day, those guys was fighting all the time. They was fighting once a week type of deal, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, trying to break records like that just isn't really possible in today's age, and isn't needed neither, you know what I mean? So myself, I just want to be known as one of the greatest fighters of my generation. I want to get, you know, a world title and maintain it so I can say I accomplished that goal and I was a world champion. And, you know, God willing, you know, a few years down the line, everything works out, I'll start to bow gracefully and make, you know, a lane for some of the guys coming right behind me. But until then, we going hard. So anybody who gets in the ring with me, be prepared. That's all I got to say.
Well, Jamal, have you thought about fighting without fans? Because that is probably, I think that's guaranteed, which is going to happen, at least for boxing, to be able to flourish. August 8th, there will be no fans when you fight Tomas Delorme live on Fox. But, you know, have you thought about fighting without fans, and, you know, how, you know, the adjustment that you may have to make, if any, inside the ring?
You know, I'm pretty sure most fighters say this or can say this. You know, once you get in the ring and the punches start flying, you're very focused in. You know, all the cheering and stuff is white noise. I mean, unless you're just really beating a guy down and you're extremely confident in the fight, you're not really paying attention to the crowd as much. You're trying to hear what your corner is saying, and you're trying to see what your opponent is doing. So I think, you know, it might be a little different just because it'll be a lot more quieter, you know, in the venue and stuff. But I don't think it's really going to have an effect on how both of us are going to come to perform that night. If anything, we'll be able to hear our corner people a lot better and be able to focus a lot better. And, you know, it's not without fans. The fans are just tuning in, you know. I know people are going to tune in and watch it on TV. So people are still going to be there watching. You just ain't going to hear them. And to me, that's kind of, I don't want to say better because I love my fans and I love to have them there in person. But it'll be cool to kind of see how that is. It'll be, you know, cool to see how the fight turns out without any fans like that.
More of an intimate setting in many aspects.
Right. You know what I mean? Almost like just a super hard sparring session or something like that. And a lot of fighters know some of the best fights just happen in the gym during sparring sessions, man. A lot of times you get, you know, a sparring session is better than
a pay-per-view.
Right, pay-per-view. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it might be something like that. But, you know, time will tell. We'll see.
Jamal, what do you want to tell the rest of the welterweight division? You know, we get great, you know, feedback from fighters and everything else. And we know that PBC is stacked at 147. But what do you want to tell the rest of the division in regards to Jamal James?
I mean, you know, I'm coming. Y'all know I'm here. We coming for more and more. But, you know, outside of that and outside of the business and the boxing, I pray that everybody stays safe, you know, through these crazy times and through this coronavirus stuff. Boxing is a business, you know what I mean? Every fighter's here because they're trying to feed their families and stuff like that. So, you know, I just pray that everybody's safe. I pray that, you know, the world can figure out, you know, this whole pandemic stuff so that we can get back in there and entertain our fans and friends and family and the people. We can, you know, make money so we can, you know, set a foundation up for our families and when the time comes, be able to enjoy, you know, the fruits of our labor.
And finally, Jamal, are you still, you know, partaking in your music? You're very musically inclined, you know, with you know, the way that quarantine has been, you know, in existence. I know, you know, you still get up and you train very hard, but you are very devout to your music as well. Have you still been able to, you know, create music during this time?
Oh, yeah, I've been messing around with some stuff. You know, when you in camp, especially up here, ain't nothing else to do in between training sessions but, you know, watch TV or play video games or something. So I'll listen to a couple instrumentals and write a little bit. My guy who's going to be fighting on the undercard is with me, Asvari. We call him O. We call him the Cuban fighter. He's going to be fighting.
Oh, David Morrell. David Morrell. Yeah, he'll be on the televised portion. That's what I'm hearing. Is that you know, in stone and everything else?
Yep. So as far as I know, so he's up here with me and he be getting down too. You know, he be writing and doing his own little music thing too. He does it obviously in Spanish and stuff like that. So it's fun to hear this guy wake up and just start singing and stuff. He don't care who can hear him. He be as loud as possible. You know, we have good times, brother. Be missing notes a little bit here and there, but you know, he's doing his music thing, so it inspired me to kind of mess around with my stuff as well. But outside of that, we just been training, man. Just been staying secluded and staying focused.
Are you guys all living at the gym right now, Jamal? I mean, or are you guys living close to the gym? I mean, can you tell us about, you know, David Morrell is 2-0. He's undefeated. I believe he's going to be fighting for a title on August 8th as well. But are you guys all living in the gym together? What's the status of your situation?
Yeah, man, it's our gym. As you can see behind us right here, this is the gym. And I'll give you a quick tour. I ain't going to show too much.
Oh, I love this. This is great.
And then once you go through this door here, this is where we living at, you know. We got the kitchen and all that stuff right there. David he went to go do his doctor test and stuff like that for the fight, but we live right in the gym. We stay, you know, secluded and away from everything so we can stay healthy and we get focused.
Well, awesome, Jamal. Thank you so much for a tour of the gym. Good luck to you and David. August 8th, you take on Tomas Delorme live on Fox. Cannot wait to see Shango Nation back in action.
My man, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Y'all stay up and get tuned in.